In the history of rock music, there are certain albums that are considered to be decade defining. Now, this month's album retrospective review definitely meets that requirement. Meatloaf's powerhouse debut, Bat Out of Hell, grabbed a hold of the 1970s and made that decade its bitch. So you're going to want to grab your bell bottoms and feather your hair back for this week's Loudini Rock and Roll Circus podcast as we pay homage to Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell. You're listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. My name is Lou Lombardi, a.k.a. Loudini, and we are here to rock out with our talk out. And tonight we're talking about Bat Out of Hell, the amazing debut by Meatloaf. So stick around for that. First, we got to do a little bit of business. Shout out to some of the folks we are partnered with. A giant shout out to Rock Rage Radio. Please go to rockrageradio.com. They have great programming 24/7. If you are like Lily and I and you are passionate about great guitar-driven rock, this is the place you want to be. And it's free. It's not like Sirius Radio where you got to pay for it. I love Ozzy's Boneyard, but I have to pay for Ozzy's Boneyard. Rock Rage Radio all day, all long. And Sirius does not have the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. So what can I say? So check it out, rockrageradio.com. And our longtime and long-suffering sponsor, Wolf's Customs. You know, there's no reason anymore, guys, to go out on stage, or to do your at-home Zoom concert.
That's still stage. That's still stage.
With a, just a run-of-the-mill sunburst guitar or wood grain finished guitar or blue or white or whatever. You can get a custom finish, something that says you and you only, through Wolf's Customs. Chris Thunderwolf Dotson is an amazing artist, does very great work from like hollow flash finishes to wood burning and all sorts of cool things. And you can find out more at wolfscustoms.online. Tell them that Loudini and Lily sent you. All right. And speaking of Lily, we've got Lily V6 in the house tonight. Lily, what is going on with you? How are you this week?
I'm here. I'm doing good. I'm not as crazy as I have been, but, we're a month in to the quarantine. So I'm just trying to get along with that. Apparently there's going to be some great things going on Saturday live on Facebook that I will announce on my show Thursday. Or if you're on Facebook, you should know. There's a Pittsburgh sort of benefit thing with a lot of locals and a couple nationals. So should be
locals
fun.
And nationals.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, every national act, every great rock band that you love, classic rock band, they were at one time, they were local guys. Yeah. So you got to support those local guys. When you see them popping up on Facebook, even if you can only pop over for a minute or whatever, go check them out, give them some thumbs up, give them a little word of encouragement. If they've got one of those PayPal.me's and you're so inclined, help them out. And speaking of helping them out and great local bands, we've got Killer Queen with us tonight. Is that Queen on your shirt there, big guy?
That is Queen 2.
Queen 2.
The deuce.
Your man is working hard. He deserves a deuce, right, Lily?
Yes.
That's right.
He's worth a deuce. Sorry. So speaking of, who are we talking to? We've got Keith the Hawk Hawkins as well, and he looks clean and clear, and he sounds clean and clear.
And we can hear him.
Yeah, so you must have got your crap together since last week.
Yeah, just on my end, there's things, sometimes there's a couple of cobwebs and a ghost in the machine or two, and next thing you know, can't hear me. Today, bada bing, bada boom, the smartest guy in the room. Okay, let's hit it.
I love it. I love it. Did you have a good week, brother? How you doing with your quarantine? You probably know how to play every frickin' Neil Peart fill ever right now after this week.
No, I'm way too lazy to set up that many drums. I don't know even if I'd have the space for it. I concentrate now on one thing at a time and just try to make that good before I move on to something else. Because I've noticed that I get the thing where I try to take on too much, and I think it's a bad thing. So for all of you kids out there practicing, one thing at a time, take it slow.
Take it one piece at a time, as Johnny Cash said. All right, so we're going to come back. We're going to be. You guys like to talk about Meatloaf tonight?
Yes.
I love this album. We're going to get into it here in a minute. But as always, we like to start the show off with some great music. I found one of you guys was, maybe it's just a rock rage thing in general, said, what bands would you like us to play on Rock Rage Radio?
Oh, it was Rock Rage, yeah.
So it was on our Facebook. So I took it seriously. And I went through all the bands that posted, and I picked 3 that I liked.
Oh, good.
So they're all a little bit different. So this is going to be fun. I don't know. You guys decide if you like them. This is a band called Jack the Joker. I like that. I like that name. Cool name. Well, the song is called Brutal Behavior. We're going to be right back to talk about Meatloaf and the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Jack the Joker. Brutal Behavior, and that is that song. That's an appropriate title for that song because they go to a lot of different places there. The name of the album is not Mars Volta, Mors Volta.
I like everything they've named for their bands.
Jack the Joker.
It's got a lot of going on.
Brutal Behavior would be a good name for a band too. We cannot come up with a name for my band.
I thought you were keeping
We
your
are
name.
Constantly arguing and Jared
boys.
wants to still call the band 20,000 Metal Dicks. I'm like, A, we're not metal. Yes, we are dicks, but we're not metal. So
the Rocky Cocks.
The Rocky Cocks.
Why don't you just call it the Swinging Dicks, man?
Yeah.
It could be a jazz band. If it was a jazz band, that would be awesome. If it was a jazz band, that would be the best name. The Swinging Dicks.
Right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You dick swinging MFers. Okay, guys. So let's get into it tonight with this whole Meatloaf. And we're not talking about your mom. This is not your mom's Meatloaf.
Oh.
Okay? Now, we all love our mom's Meatloaf, but this is not our mom's Meatloaf. This is the artist known as Meatloaf.
I knew you were gonna say it like
I
that.
watched the classic albums today.
Yeah, how'd you like it?
Oh, it's great. If you have not seen it, it's on Prime. If you have Amazon, it's on Prime. You can just watch it, and it's a lot of fun. You can so check that out. So, anyways, who wants to start? Who wants to get into the thing first? Lily usually gives some backgrounds, but Keith is on, so whoever wants to jump in can jump in. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
Well, we're talking about Bat Out of Hell tonight, released October 21st, 1977. It is the debut album by American rock singer Meatloaf. It's also his first collaboration with composer Jim Steinman and producer Todd Rundgren. It has spawned 2 Meatloaf sequel albums, Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell, and Bat Out of Hell 3, The Monster is Loose. It's actually one of the best-selling albums of all time, selling over 43 million copies worldwide, and it is certified 14 times platinum by the RIAA, and I'm not explaining what that is. I've explained it 100 times on the show. As of June 2019, it has spent 522 weeks in the UK album charts, which I think is pretty cool. That's a lot. I wish it was US charts, but UK's fine too. It's regarded as one of the most influential rock albums of all time. The songs have remained classic rock staples. And I didn't know this part, but I guess it was based on a musical that Jim Steinman wrote initially in the 70s.
Yes, some of these songs were from that musical, and some of them were like leftover ideas that he hadn't completely worked out and then fleshed them out to do this record.
About Peter Pan.
I did not know that. It was about Peter.
It was called Neverland, which is like Peter Pan's one of my favorite stories ever. So that's pretty cool. He did it in '74, and apparently it was a musical that was touring in 2017. Was supposed to come to the U.S. in 2019, and well, we're missing all that right now because
it's not going to happen right now.
You know.
And they had met because Jim was writing for this musical, and they were auditioning actors. And the second he had heard, they had like 200 people audition, and the second he heard Meatloaf, he says for some reason it did not bother him, or didn't. Everybody else was like, "What, Meatloaf? What is this guy? Like, what do you mean?" But like Jim was like, "Well, I don't know." He said for some reason it just didn't bother me. He says when a 300-pound guy comes in and his name's Meatloaf, like I was just like, okay, well that makes total sense to me,
right?
And he says he was a natural actor and he had a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a sort of like instantaneous like connection.
Yeah.
What do you got, Keith? You want to chime in, bro?
A lot of people, know Meatloaf as Scott Ian's father-in-law, but that's a horror thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a true metalhead, I don't know. Lily pretty much covered, I think, the whole gamut, so the show's over. But
And here we go. Good night.
But I was surprised to see how many copies it sold. I mean, I've listened to the album a few times myself. I mean, I know the hits, obviously, more than anything else. I don't know the album inside and out. I think there's definitely a lot of cool elements to the music. I mean, it's definitely got rock, it's pop, it's progressive at times. There's a lot of different, tempo changes and a lot of like just kind of different interesting segues in the music. It's definitely kind of got that rock opera sort of vibe. So it's definitely one of the albums I think just stand the test of time because it sounds, if you never heard it before and you let somebody hear, like even a younger kid, it still sounds fresh and it's interesting. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can say about the album. It's very interesting. The music is just it's like a musical journey when you listen to that. I mean, it's not one dimensional. All those songs go different places. I don't know. I read somewhere that when it first came out, the record label wasn't real thrilled with it. I mean, there is some lengthy tunes on the album, but it was in the 70s, so you could probably get away with that more. I mean, even, Paradise by Dashboard Lights is over 8 minutes long, but it doesn't seem that way because it goes somewhere. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool. It's a musical journey. Even with the little thing with in the middle with the great Phil Rizzuto, Yankee great Phil Rizzuto was on that one.
Yeah.
Actually. So I mean, it's like I said, it's just and it's got some, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I mean, there's some rock radio staples on there. I mean, I even like I think probably one of my favorite tunes off the album is actually the title track. I think the album comes out rocking pretty good, and it kind of mellows out a little bit. Then it gets back in. Like I said, it got a lot of different, things going on in the album. So
just to sort of bounce off of that, they were having a hard time finding someone to sign them, even initially. Yeah. And they went to actually Clive Davis from CBS, and he said that actors don't make records and challenged Steinman's writing abilities and knowledge of rock music. And the actual quote was, "Do you know how to write a song? Do you know anything about writing? If you're going to write for records, it goes like this: A, B, C, B, C, C. I don't know what you're doing. You're doing A, D, F, G, B, D, C. You don't know how to write a song. Have you ever listened to pop music? Have you ever heard any rock and roll music? You should go downstairs when you leave here and buy some rock and roll records." That was the quote that Clive told them.
Is that now there is a famous story about them, and I don't know if this was because what most people did was they would take the demo and they would take it to the record label, but they didn't. Jim and Meatloaf did not feel that would cut it. So what they did was they went and said, "You have to have a piano, and I'm going to play the piano, and this Meatloaf guy's going to sing."
Yeah,
and they would play the album with just piano and vocals. And there is a story that. And I don't know, maybe it was the Clive Davis story that afterwards Meatloaf was so angry that he flipped a grand piano over.
They didn't say that during this story, but I know Steinman, I guess, screamed up through the window, "F you, Clive, what do you know, blah, blah, blah." But, well, Clive's an idiot, obviously.
Well, I mean, Clive Davis, got to give the devil's due. I mean, he's done major stuff obviously, but he missed it. And there's a lot of stories like that.
He missed.
He
swung, he missed.
I'd say Clive Davis knows a little something about the record industry. I mean, the guy's been around for eons. But, I guess that would probably discourage most folks, but that's, it's sometimes different is good. And the album's different. I mean, it's like I said, it takes you somewhere. And I think it obviously resonated with 43 million people and probably more at this point.
Right.
Well,
so, I mean, it's just one of them things where I think that you have to take chances in music. Cause music is not, there's no rules to music. I understand that people like to make it that way, especially record company execs who usually aren't musicians themselves. They just kind of know, like they hear things better than a lot of people. So they think that, okay, I know what's best for everything. Well, if that was the case, then we wouldn't have anybody like this album or a David Bowie or anybody that
wouldn't
like
have Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
Yeah,
legit.
To push the music, you have to take chances, and if it pays off, great, and if it doesn't, I mean, you're back to the drawing board. But I mean, what else are you going to do? So it's great that people take chances with music, and you should continue to do that. But this was something that was written at a time where you could take chances, and it paid off for him.
Yeah, I mean, despite it being not successful at first, it still sells 200,000 copies a year. So I think they're doing
people
okay
are still buying Bat Out of Hell. It's like one of those. It's like Dark Side of the Moon. It's like Sgt. Pepper's.
It's timeless.
It's like Born to Run. It's like every Led Zeppelin album. It's like people just there's always that next generation of people that discover it and want to hear it. In terms of taking chances in music, here's the thing, and here's kind of the rule, which is not really a rule. You can do anything you want if you can make it work. Mm-hmm. And they were able to take that type of songwriting. And it's not true that there aren't straight ahead pop tunes on it, because the song right after Bat Out of Hell, you took the words right out of my mouth, is a straight, almost like Phil Spector kind of like pop tune.
Yeah.
So that's not completely true. Yes, Bat Out of Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, For Crying Out Loud, some of those songs are really kind of go a lot of different places. But there are very compact songs, all revved up, that are just, more straight ahead, pop type tunes. What I want to do is, Keith, I want you to talk about this, because let's talk a little bit about the personnel on this record, because Max Weinberg is played a big role on this, and so did Roy Baton, both from Springsteen's band, and Todd Rundgren and has said that he really felt that when he heard the music, he felt that like this is kind of what they were going for, was this sort of early Springsteen kind of epic type sound. So you want to talk a little bit about some of the players on it, and specifically Max Weinberg?
Yeah, no, he was on several tracks. I mean, he's definitely not on the whole record, but he's definitely on some of the earlier tracks. And I don't know exactly. I mean, they had the track number, but I didn't write that down. But he's definitely on there, and I think there's another drummer on there. Is some Wilcox? I forget his name, but Max was definitely on a few of the tunes. And you also got guys like Todd Rundgren. I mean, you can't really go wrong. Kasim Sultan and Edgar Winter was credited as saxophone on a few tracks.
Yeah, 3 tracks.
And incredible vocals of Ellen Foley. And you have it's almost like definitely some of the who's who at the time of really heavy studio cats that can like play to this music. Because I mean, that's a lot of that music like that can be intimidating, because there's a lot of probably charting going on, and you have to like kind of get the several feels together for one song. So yeah, I mean, when you're going to go with that kind of vibe, I mean, you definitely need some of the the top cat music. So I mean, yeah, there's some real heavyweights on there, and it goes to show you that it's pulled off very well. And they were definitely going for like a lot of those tunes were going in the Springsteen kind of vibe. You listen to a Springsteen song like Rosalita,
yeah, I
think you could compare it to that kind of thing. It's like really, really, I hate to call it over the top. I'm such a huge Springsteen fan. That is a great song though, where it's like very like, did that just come? I mean, sometimes I think songs like that aren't wrote purposely like that. It just comes from jamming. You know what I mean? We're jamming, and this is what happened. So let's take it into this direction. It's not so like scripted. So sometimes you can like improvise, and improvisation becomes great ideas. That's that's.
Willie Wilcox also played.
That's it.
Was a Todd Rundgren and Utopia member regular. So that's probably how he ended up on the project. He worked with Todd, and he also worked with Hall & Oates.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like that's some serious. That's some heavy hitter stuff right there. And of course, the amazing. Max Weinberg, who later, what was that? Was he the Jay Leno band?
Couldn't remember.
Max Weinberg, was he the drummer for the? Was he the Jay Leno? Was that? No.
No, it was on Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. Okay, Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay, I know he did. He had a late night stint as well. So, Lily, do you want to tell everybody about the lady who sang versus the lady who's in all the videos and who did the touring?
I do not know the difference. I'm sorry.
What?
No.
So Ellen Foley.
I know Ellen Foley's the one who sang on the record. That's what I know.
Okay, hold a second. Let me get. I thought for sure.
Sorry, no, I did not do anything about the difference in the women.
Okay.
I apologize.
Hold a second here. Let me. Carla DeVito.
I can't be there either.
Carla DeVito she toured. Ellen.
She's the one we see in the videos.
Right.
Yes.
Ellen Ellen Foley could not tour. She had other commitments, and because she was on the record, she got her own record deal. So she was like, I don't have no time for, ain't anybody got time for no Meatloaf stuff. And ended up going off and doing her own thing. And Carla DeVito took over and is in the videos, and
she's pretty awesome. I know that.
And played with them live, and she does a great job live. And while her and Meatloaf never dated, the interplay on Paradise by the Dashboard Light got very hot and heavy on stage.
Sure did.
And she says that she thought that Meatloaf was trying to perform some sort of throat exam with his tongue several times when they performed that song. If you've ever seen the video, I mean, they look like they're really getting into it. Yeah, they're like really getting into it. She went in. She was a long time touring member with the act, but Ellen sang all the parts, and so there's a little bit. When Carla came in, she thought that they were going to just put her voice in there, and Todd was like, "No, you don't get it. It's like mixed. It's like done. There's no. We'd have to take the whole thing apart. It was like not going to work.
Yeah, we can't do that.
No, we can't do that. So so it's Ellen Foley doing the singing, but it's Carla DeVito actually, the lovely brunette who performs in the videos and on tour. So we're gonna come back after we listen to. See if I can say this band's name right. How would you say it? Nacarbide.
Okay.
Okay, this is I had it earlier and it just left me. Nacarbide. This is track. These guys are from Bangkok, and this track's called "Run." It's the only word I understand in the song. So, I try to play at least one actual metal song. So this is our metal song for the show. So check it out. This is "Run," Nacarbide on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Nacarbide, "Run" on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Let me give you guys a little bit of what you can, because I didn't do its last band either. I'd like to tell you guys where you can find them so you can check them out. We opened the show with Jack the Joker, and you want to go to facebook.com/Jack the Joker BR. I'm not sure what BR stands for. BR549.
Oh my gosh.
Then we played, that was Nacarbide, and you go to nacarbide.bandcamp.com, and they've got a bunch of records out. They're from Bangkok. Very cool band.
I like them.
Good, straight up heavy metal music, no bullshit. So do you guys want to try to maybe rank the tracks for this?
Sure.
No?
It'll be a little hard.
It's that hard. If that is hard.
I can rank mine 7-1 though, I suppose.
Well, there's how many there are.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's interesting about the album is
there's only 7 songs.
There's only 7 songs, which today might be considered an EP, but when some of the songs are
8 and a half minute
9,
songs.
well, yeah, For Crying Out Loud, I believe is almost 9 minutes, and it's a ballad, and there's. The first 3 minutes is just vocals and piano, and then the orchestra comes in with the drums. So yeah, it's different. They're like they do some. They really stretched out. They really took this in different places. Again, it was an era when this. You guys got to remember in the 70s, you had bands like Led Zeppelin, who were, like very different, doing songs like Stairway to Heaven and Kashmir, which were long and, had a lot of different stuff going on. You had albums like Dark Side of the Moon, which, went all over the place and are considered classics. So, it was an era where there was
where
that
you could get away with
freedom,
that long
freedoms of to sort of do that, and people's attentions were different, and it wasn't like nowadays. You know what I mean? We watch a video for 10 seconds and we
switch it.
We want to see the next thing. People
Yeah,
would,
and
like,
it's the average attention span is 25 seconds long anyway. So
I know
anymore.
I mean, I remember, people would just sit down and what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm listening to records.
Yeah,
it was something that people did on a Friday night or whatever.
I've been doing that a lot more lately. Listening to records.
Well, good.
I think nowadays you could do that. Well, at least until the quarantine's over.
Right.
So until the
It's
quarantine's
nice, though.
over, listen to your record. Damn it.
Well, you could always do that.
Right.
Whether
You
it's
don't
quarantine
have
or
to.
You
not.
can, but nobody does it. I mean, I have vinyl in the room that's like, stacked this high. They're still in the plastic because I've heard the album a million times, but I just didn't have the vinyl copy, so I buy it and then it sits in the plastic because I know what it sounds like. Then now all of a sudden I'm like, hey, maybe I should listen to that because vinyl always sounds better. We all know that.
Legit.
Did you see? I don't know if you guys saw. Somebody has made a product, and they plan on. This is a crowdfunded product that allows you to create your own records.
I saw that.
Did
want
you say this? Right now, you can.
What is it?
You can create your own albums.
It's a vinyl cutter.
You can make your own vinyl cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't do a whole lot. It only does so many minutes. But the company is like, now that we have the technology together, we're going to, expand
That is
it,
cool. I want it.
So you could take your CDs. Well, isn't that crazy? There was a time
You
when
can take your CDs and put them on
but
vinyl.
on vinyl, it's be the other way around. Can't wait till it comes out on CD. I have it on vinyl, but I want to have it on CD now.
Right?
Now,
Now we're going back. We're going backwards.
So now, pretty soon, 8-tracks will be coming back into big way.
yeah. Well, cassettes are back. That is definitely a thing.
Yeah, I don't get that because I just got rid of a bunch. My aunt called me one day from Pittsburgh and was like, "Oh, you got a bunch of cases with cassettes here." I'm like, "Just throw them away." And
Yeah,
there
people
probably
love
was
cassettes again now.
hundreds of them.
I think what's missing is for people is the physicality of the music. There was we don't have that. Music is fleeting now because you listen, you stream it or something, and there's no real tangible
I like
thing.
to have the physical thing in my hand where I can read vinyl notes, I guess you want to call them, or CD
Well, that's
notes.
what I would do. I would lay there in bed,
Look at all the pictures.
and look at the pictures, and read the notes and everything, and listen to the record. That's just what you did.
I know.
I have memories just like it was yesterday doing that when I was a kid. I mean, it's just what I did.
Right.
I don't know. Anyways, so let's try to do a song ranking on this biatch here. So, what do you guys feel? There's 7 tracks, so it shouldn't be too hard. What's number 7?
My number 7 is you took the words right out of my mouth.
That is like one of my favorite songs.
I'm sorry.
on there.
It's not one of my favorites.
Yeah, my number 7 is For Crying Out Loud. It's just too long for me.
I think so too.
I like that one, damn it.
I'm not saying it's not good for me, just me. I mean, that's just one of the things, right? If I lose, and I hate to say it, and this is just straight up dick mode for me to say it, but if there's no drums in there for the first 12 minutes, I can give a shit. You know?
Right.
It's
Well,
just
that's
like-
you, though, because you play the drums. I totally understand.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what I lose.
I have to go with Keith on that. That is it's a cool song, but it's not. There is a one on there. It's just piano and vocal that I really, really love. There's a ballad on there, but For Crying Out Loud just didn't quite cut it for me. It isn't a bad song. It's a great song, but on an album that we ranking them. So what do we got for number 6?
My number 6 is Heaven Can Wait.
I would put that a little higher, but what do you got for your number 6?
Nah, I got that as my number 6 too. It's just a
It was
song
the
that
first
kinda-
song written for the album, so they say.
Really? I mean, it's one of them songs where I'm just like, it's I don't think there's bad songs on the record. It's just
There's better.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no bad songs. We're just ranking honestly, guys, it's arbitrary. It's just what we like.
Right.
You may have a
Yeah, I
different
mean,
list.
it's somebody sitting at home right now are like, these people are a bunch of freaking idiots. But I mean, it's just our opinion. It doesn't mean anything.
What
but
do we know?
for an hour a week, it means everything.
That's right.
Right.
Bitch. So what do we got for number 5?
My number 5 was actually For Crying Out Loud.
What's your number 5?
All Revved Up.
I go with that. I think we're going to start coming more into line here in the last few here. So what's number 4? Yeah, All Revved Up is it's a good rock tune.
Oh yeah, don't get
it's
me
fun.
wrong. Like
It's
I
a
said,
fun. It's a
hard
fun rock tune, and I like the fact that they kind of like do the double time at the end and everything. But I just
This one is actually supposed to be about Peter Pan.
really.
So this
Really?
is what I read. This
What
one's-
did you read? Do you have some notes?
I
We're
do.
talking about songs.
Okay,
You could chime
Okay.
in. Hello.
This one's about Peter Pan, referring to the Neverland musical that we talked about earlier. The lyric, like the son of a jackal, I'm the leader of the pack, is talking about Peter Pan himself. This is from Steinman, coming from him. To me, it sounds like young lust frustration, but I mean,
that's what
Peter
it
Pan
sounds
could
like.
be like over, Wendy and all, the whole thing.
Okay, so
Going through girls' window.
so what do you got on number 4?
My number 4
Me?
was All Revved Up.
Well, Lily's number 4 was All Revved Up. What is your number 4?
I got 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Nat. That's what it's called. You know that, right?
And that.
In my opinion, from here out, the songs are all pretty much equal.
Okay.
2 out of 3, Paradise, took the words right out of my mouth, and Bad Out of Hell is the kind of standout of all songs. I mean, that's like a progressive rock tune. That's like they're like kind of in like Genesis or Yes territory almost with some of what they do on that. But what do we got what do we have for number 3?
My number 3 is actually 2 out of 3 and bad. And
So talk about 2 out of 3. We should let you go. Give yellow
this
history.
is it remains Meatloaf's second highest chart hit in the U.S. behind "I'll Do Anything for Love," which is not on the album. It stands as one of his signature tunes with recurrent airplay to this day. And it was actually the final song written for the album.
It was the final song. It was done as an afterthought, and the Eagles were very popular at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Steinman wrote the song because he wanted to write a country song. And the original, and there's actual vocal tracks and stuff like that that are very Eagle-esque that did not make it onto the final cut. And if you watch the classic albums, they play these tracks for you, and you're like, oh my God, this could be an Eagles song. Like the way, if they would have like gone in a little bit of a different direction with it, with the production, and Meat would have sang it just a little bit different, and they would have done a couple little differences at the back of it, you're gonna be like, holy crap. But that was the idea of the song, was to like, well, the Eagles are popular, and
So let's do this.
And
Let's
yeah,
piggyback.
and Jim Steinman says he always wanted to be a cowboy when he was a little kid. He liked country music, and that was the idea of the song. But when it got in the hands of the band and Todd Rundgren and Meatloaf and everything, it sort of morphed and became
filtered.
Yeah, it became its own thing. Meat filtered. It was meat filtered. I like that.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's-
Well, what's you guys' number 3? Because that was...
What do we got for number 3? Keith?
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's my number 3.
Somebody can talk.
that song actually begins with a spoken word introduction by Jim Steinman and Marcia McLean. The spoken
On a hot
word...
summer night, would you give your throat to the wolf with the red lip?
The spoken word section, listened to by Steve Popovich, was the key factor in accepting the album for the Cleveland International Records, also Epic Records, as well as the key factor in Meatloaf and Steinman doing an album together. So this was an important song, even though it's number 7 on my list. It's an important song on the album.
It was it's a really, I think it's a great, and it has that Ronnie Spector or that Phil Spector beat, boom, 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 tsh, boom, boom, boom. That Be My Little Baby, whole
Yes.
thing in there. A total homage to that.
Credit to the great Hal Blaine on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has that whole thing going on. I wanted to say something else about the song, and it just slipped my mind. But yeah, without even hearing any of the music, that was the song that got them signed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They heard
they heard the word, the spoken part.
No, I don't care. Just stop right there. Well,
We're
you're
good.
signed. You're signed.
We got this. Even though everybody at Epic hated the whole album, this guy was like, we need this.
Yeah, they got it. It was a guy who was from Cleveland, and little Steven Van Zandt got them a meeting with him so that he could hear it.
Yeah.
But I know what I wanted to tell you. Speaking of Jim Steinman, the album, Jim Steinman was lobbying for the album to be called Jim Steinman and Meatloaf.
I did know that. Yeah.
And you know, and I can understand for marketing purposes why the record label just was like,
that's not going to work.
Yeah. So it does say on the album songs by Jim Steinman.
Yeah.
So he does get a little.
He gets the credit.
And the thing about Jim is he's gone on to write some giant hits for other people.
Oh, yeah.
That
He's
fantastic. He's got Air Supply. Celine Dion, that Bonnie
Tyler,
the Bonnie Tyler,
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah, Total Eclipse. I mean, like, there's a ton. So, like, he's nothing to be sort of like, ashamed of. I mean, he's like, he's just cranking them bastards out. So, what do we got for number 2?
My number 2 is Bat Out of Hell.
Keith, what's your number 2?
Paradise.
There's a reason, though. This song was actually inspired by teenage tragedy songs like Leader of the Pack, Terry and Tell Laura I Love Her. Jim Steinman wanted to write the most extreme crash song of all time.
No, we're talking about Paradise.
Oh, sorry. No, okay. Well, that was my number 2.
Are we talking about Paradise or Bat?
Well, I was talking about my number 2.
Let's talk about Paradise first, then we'll talk about Bat.
It's the most notable for the length and the unique song structure. It has like the 4 parts in it. Became a staple of classic rock radio. The version on the album is 8 minutes and 28 seconds long. The original version was 27 minutes long. They had to cut that back a little bit, obviously, for album's sake.
What?
Yeah.
Well, yes, I saw Todd Rundgren talking about it on the classic albums, and he was like, they had all these other vocal things that they wanted to do. It was they had worked it out.
It was like
a mini Broadway musical. And Jim was like, no. Or, I mean, Todd was like, no.
Todd's like,
sing that 4 times and then you're done.
It's one of the longest songs to be released uncut on a 45. Steinman said this is another ultimate. Steinman said he wanted to write the ultimate car sex song in which everything goes horribly wrong in the end. I think he really got what he wanted on that, actually. Like I said,
brilliant.
It's fantastic. It's got the first part, which is Paradise, basically the couple reminiscing about high school days. The baseball broadcast. Obviously, the New York Yankees announcer, Phil Rizzuto, broadcasting his part of the game, which he thought it wasn't going to be as dirty as it was. And he was like super mad about it after they recorded it.
I'm sure he was.
So he's like, really? We're doing this? And then
that don't surprise me.
Part 2, Let Me Sleep on It, just as the male character is about to score the girl, stops him and tells him the dirty isn't happening unless he promises to love her forever and marry her. And then he tells her he'll sleep with her. Or he tells her he'll sleep on it, but let's keep going, and she refuses. Typical women. Part 3 is Praying for the End of Time. We're back in the present, and the male character cannot stand his wife anymore, praying for the end of time, ending his obligation to her, and that is the 4 parts of the song, which makes it the unique song of the album.
Meatloaf says that him and Jim had a conversation where he told the story about he dated this girl when he was living in Texas, and she had this red convertible with this amazing lit up dashboard, and they would go parking, and every time he says they would be petting like crazy, and every time he tried to like take it a little farther, she would literally say, "Stop right there."
That's fantastic. That's my favorite line in the whole song, and I'm going to tell you what, this is the only song anybody will ever be able to get me to do with karaoke with enough alcohol, specifically tequila. I need at least 7 shots before I'll do it. But I will do it after 7 shots of tequila. You can ask any of my friends.
Crap. 7 shots.
Yep.
First and foremost, let me just stop you right there. Stop right there. Let me just say that I'm a freaking heavyweight of drinking and everything else, and I don't even know if I could drink 7 shots of tequila. So you know what? That's pretty good.
I know I can do that. Tequila specific.
If I just have 7 shots of tequila,
I'm not a tequila drinker. So
I'm gonna,
if it was whiskey, I couldn't do it.
I'm not getting up to sing karaoke. I'm going to go find my bed.
Nope.
Maybe a toilet first.
It's been done. You ask my friends. It's been done more than once.
Damn.
So Keith, any notes or any ideas on Dashboard? Paradise by the Dashboard.
I think it's a brilliant song. It's probably like I said, it's probably not rocking enough for my number 1 choice, which is obvious. But I think that's the kind of song that not everybody can write, man. That's just not given to you. That's definitely a well-crafted, thought out. I mean, that's just something you just don't. You know, I have no idea how long it took them to write that song. But holy shit! I mean, it's in 3 different parts. I mean, it's just a lot of
Four.
There's just a lot of interesting things going on, and it just all works into one song. I mean, it's actually very amazing that people can do that. And like I said, I give them total kudos to that. When you have, brilliant writers and producers like Todd Rundgren and Jim Steinman going on, they can definitely they hear a lot more than the average Joe, so they can put that stuff together. And then obviously topping it off with Meatloaf and Ellen Foley, correct?
Yes.
Ellen Foley.
Great vocals. And Phil Rizzuto, don't forget Phil on that one.
Poor Phil didn't even know.
Yeah.
Did Keith?
So, it's a brilliant song, man. It really is. I mean, it's nothing else I can say about it.
Dave, have you ever tried to play it in a band?
Is it interesting?
No, I've not. I don't know. Most bands I've been in probably couldn't pull that off.
I was in a band and we learned it.
Did you guys do the baseball part?
We did the whole thing.
Nice.
But we were too afraid to play it out. We worked on it, and we were just every time we would go to we'd put it into sets.
Really?
And we just were like,
should have did it.
We'd all look at each other like, no,
We should have did it.
And we never played it out, but we did work. I did the Meatloaf part. We had a female singer. She did the Ellen Foley part, and our drummer did the full Phil Rizzuto part.
Nice.
And it was really fun to work out.
Oh, you should have did it.
And we did a sort of watered down version. Granted, we were a 4-piece rock band, so we didn't we had to kind of do our own thing with it. We did all the parts, but it was too scary.
Oh, no, that would have been cool as hell because nobody does that.
No, it would have been cool to do. That's why I wanted to do it. I'm like, nobody does this. People would probably really get into it. But in any case.
Well, the reason that's my actual number one is because I just think it's super unique and I will sing it. And that's kind of amazing.
It is super unique. Just like the song that Keith and I have for our number one, which is Bad Out of Hell.
Yes.
So, and I know we talked about this and we're thinking about maybe even doing a podcast on this. So tell a little bit about the story about this song.
I started this, but it was a song inspired by teenage tragedy because he wanted to write the most extreme crash song of all time, originally featured on the unfinished musical Neverland, along with Heaven Can Wait and All Revved Up. I think it's a great opener to the song. It's like literally like a bat out of hell. It's like it's in your face right as soon as you listen to the song or the album, excuse me. And the lyrics set a scene of evil with guns, knives, and bloodshot and the whole thing, and it's great. I think it's a fantastic song. However, like I said, Paradise is my number one because it's unique.
Right. And so Lily and I were talking about maybe doing a show where we rate the top 10 crash songs because I think that'd be great. That was the whole thing. There's been tons of songs about car crashes and motorcycle crashes and stuff, and this would definitely be on the list. So what are your thoughts on Bad Out of Hell, Keith? Because this was both you and I's number one.
That's just I think you could never have. They had to put that song somewhere else in the album. It would have been a disservice to the entire album. It came out swinging. It was definitely it had that rock vibe, but it almost was progressive at times with some definitely interesting little interludes in the song. It definitely showcases Meatloaf's powerful vocals, and just the arrangement is just not your typical pop song. So it's a very interesting song. It was, to be honest with you, it was very hard to choose between that and Paradise. Paradise is a very unique song, and I think it's one of the most interesting songs probably ever written. It's unique, and it's to pull that kind of stuff off is. I've never been in a band that had two vocals until recently, so and that's a country band, so they're not probably going to pull this one off at all. So
you could try.
Yeah, but it's just. It's definitely a song that I think that if you listen to that song, then the rest of the album, you can see that it takes on that album just takes on a whole different life, song after song. I mean, it's definitely crazy, man, how interesting. Every song has its own personality.
They were 4 or 5 minutes into the song, and Jim Steinman was like, no, it can't be over because I have a whole other section. And they were like, you got to be kidding. The song has to be over. You can't write a song this long. And he goes, no, we have this whole thing. And so they were producing They were putting it all together, and they were nearing the end of overdubs. And Jim had been asking Todd Rundgren, like, we need like a motorcycle sound,
Yeah, that's right.
in the song.
Yeah, he wanted them in there.
And so Todd was like, yeah. He says, well, don't you have sound effects? He goes, no, I don't have no sound effects. So when Todd overdubbed when he did his guitar solo, he's like, I'll make the motorcycle sound. That's all done with guitar, and it is one take. Out of all that crash noise with the whammy bar and the pick scraping and everything, and he goes right into the guitar solo.
Nice.
And it's flawless.
That's genius.
And if you watch the classic albums, Meatloaf isolates the track, and people, you don't think about Todd Rundgren as some like monster guitar player, but he's a badass guitar player.
Right.
I mean,
that dude's like
that's killer.
That's super genius, man. I mean, that dude has put everything he puts his hands on is going to be gold. I mean,
Great
it's
songwriter, great producer, and apparently a great guitar player.
He's just a freaking great musician.
Very
man. I mean, that
overlooked.
dude he's just one of them guys that just doesn't get enough credit for what he did, and he's been on so much stuff, and
he's Liv Tyler's stepdad.
Well, obviously, that's awesome too.
There you go. I didn't know that either. So
but anyways, guys, anything? We're out of time. We're gonna get out of here with one band when we're done here. But any parting thoughts or ideas you guys want to throw out there about Bat Out of Hell in the next 120 seconds?
I just think it's epic. You definitely see it deriving from a musical. It's timeless. It tells a story of sex, lust, and love, and I just love it. So
I like albums too that take you on a journey.
Yeah.
And there are records like Dark Side of the Moon, Led Zeppelin 4, Purple Rain. You know, there's a handful of these records out there that just like you really, when you start it, you really want to go to the end. Mm-hmm. You're just like, I want to just take the ride. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I love. And this is an album that takes advantage of the art form of the album. Mm-hmm. It makes great use of that idea of like, we have a cycle of songs and we want you to just relax and get into it and listen. Maybe you're going to jump up and down. Maybe you're going to kind of clench your teeth. Maybe you're going to get a little nervous. Maybe you're going to be relieved. Maybe you're going to laugh. The other thing about the album is, and I'm not sure how many people pick up on this, is Jim Steinman and Todd Rundgren have both talked about how the album is tongue-in-cheek. They know they're not taking themselves too seriously. They know that a song like 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad is kind of like, what woman wants to hear that?
Right.
You know what I mean? I want you, I need you, but there's no way I'm going to love you. You know, like that's an example of how like they were being, you know, there was a sense of humor to it too. Absolutely brilliant. Keith, you got the last word on Bat Out of Hell.
Well, I can say pretty much what you said. I mean, it is a brilliant album. It takes you on a journey. I mean, like most great albums do. I mean, anything that stands the test of time, it can still be heard from the 70s up until today, where you can turn, let your 12-year-old nephew hear it and he likes it too. It's just one of them things where it just goes on and on. The songs all have their own personality. Like I said before, they're well written, well produced, well played, and just, what else can I say, man? It's a very powerhouse vocalist, and somebody must like it because it did spawn 2 sequels, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we could talk a little bit more at some point. Well, maybe we'll do a whole Meatloaf show, but pretty much this is it, guys. Keith the Hawk Hawkins, you all right, brother?
I'm
do
good.
some Facebook Lives or something where you play, where you play some tracks or something, man, so we can see you play.
What's that?
Do some Facebook do some Facebook Lives where you like jam out on some Zeppelin or something, man. Like
I could do that. I was thinking about. I got some things I'm working on. I mean, I was trying to tape some stuff the other day with my phone, and the quality's just shit. So I got to I got a GoPro. I got to work on some angles and different things.
Yeah, do it, man. Do it. So anyway, obviously Keith is an amazing musician. Just plays in a bunch of bands right now. That's sort of grounded, but wish you all the best, man. Hope that we can keep you on the podcast for a few more weeks. Lily V6.
I'll be around.
Oh, hi. Just listen to my show, Hot Licks with Lily, 6 Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern on Rock Rage Radio, rockrageradio.com, or just download the free app.
Shout out to Wolf's Customs, wolfscustoms.online. Go get a custom finish on your drums or your guitar. And we opened the show with Jack the Joker. We played Nacarbide, and we are going to end the show with The Last of the Misfits. Ooh. Cool band name, right? Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next Loudini. Forgot my own website, LouLombardiRocks.com. If you love what you hear, you want to hang out with cool people that are into it, you want to get some freebies, some free downloads and stuff like that, check it out. This is where we're going to find out about my new releases. Keith and I worked on a bunch of music a year or so ago. I'm just getting it all out now. So some of those songs are going to be coming out, and you guys are going to find out more about that soon. All right, guys, LouLombardiRocks.com is where you want to go. We're going to go party a little bit over there, by the way. So if you want to hear the real dirty jokes, that's where you want to go. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.